Good morning to friends of the Museum of South Texas History and really to anybody around the world who may be tuning in to our edition, our July 2021 edition of Museum Pláticas. My name is Francisco Guajardo. I am the Chief Executive Officer of the museum. And today is really a day that I think pushes my emotional makeup in so many different ways. Because we have an old friend who will be with us today. Her name is Dolia González. So Dolia is famous in her own right because she's been extraordinary as a citizen of South Texas. But Dolia also is a mother of the world in many ways because she is the mother of Freddy González, the late Sergeant Alfredo González. And so we will have a conversation with Dolia González today. And so she is at the museum today. And so it's always an exciting day when she comes into the museum because she's got a bit of a rock star status around here. And so everybody loves Dolia González. And so we're going to have a conversation with her. The conversation is very focused, however, today because about a year ago, Ms. González brought to us about 150 letters that her son Freddie sent from Vietnam during his 2 tours of duty. And so we will be going through some of the letters and having a conversation with her about the meaning of all this and how the letters, did something to her through the years, not only during the time that Freddie was sending the letters to her, but also in the post-Freddie days, how Freddie really never was post because Freddie continues to live with us today through his letters and through his mother and through just his heroism. We'll have a plática with her. Then we will go on break a little bit and then come back and have another plática with a teacher from Edinburgh North High School. Her name is Jennifer Torres Olmeda. Jennifer is a very accomplished teacher, and she also happens to be a teacher who will represent an initiative that the museum has been involved with called Historias Americanas. It is a grant that the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley received a few years ago from the U.S. Department of Education to do teacher development. And so Jennifer is really, I think, a representation and a great example of how teachers are working on themselves, specifically through this one grant. So when we come back, we will have Dolia González with us. And so we are very happy that you are with us today. Dolia González joins us in the studio today. Dolia, how are you?
Good.
You're doing well?
Doing well.
So you told me just a while ago that you will be turning 92 years today.
92, the 18th of August, 1929.
1929. Qué bendición, ¿verdad?
Vale más que lo creas porque when my mother passed away at the age of 83, when her year came around, I said, oh my God, when I'm 83, I'm going to go with my mom. But my mom still has me living here.
When you were born in 1929, where were you born?
In Edinburgh.
Where in Edinburgh?
On Stubbs Street.
On Stubbs?
¿Dónde está esa calle?
Yeah. But was it on West Stubbs or East Stubbs?
It was on East Stubbs.
East Stubbs.
I was born there in my grandmother's house, my daddy's mother.
Uh-huh. And did a midwife come to the house to help in the
A
delivery?
doctor, we had an old Dr. Slater.
Really? How about that? In 1929.
And the first thing my grandma did, instead of seeing if the baby was fine, she went to check my little fingers. This is where my daddy had it. And I'm the only one of the family that had them this crooked.
You were born with crooked fingers?
Crooked, you can see them right there.
How about that?
In fact, this one got hung in the door the other day. Oh my God,
Oh.
it hurt, but it's okay.
When you gave birth to your child, Freddie, who checked his fingers?
My mom.
Did he have crooked fingers?
A little, yeah. Not as crooked as mine. Mine are period crooked.
Wow.
And when we used to work in the field with a shovel,
Oh, yeah.
my little finger would be all day this way. At night, I don't want to go to sleep.
So we wanted to bring you in. I mean, it's always a treat when you come to the museum, but we wanted to bring you in today because we wanted to have a conversation with you, a plática with you about the letters your son sent to you from Vietnam. So I would like to ask you some questions, if I may. Because there was something about Freddie and letter writing that was extraordinary. We have a letter that he sent to you from the cotton fields in Robstown
Yeah.
when he was about 14 or 15 years old. What was it about Freddie writing letters when he was such a kid?
And they used to work together, people and everything. And they said, people always told me, I would be on a cotton row all day, and Freddie would go back and forth, back and forth. They were good cotton pickers. And they liked for them to go work when the cantaloupe, when the season came, in the watermelon. They would look for those two boys, my nephew Arturo and them. But people said, we would be all day in one row.
And then at night, Freddie would go and write a letter because he wrote letters to you. Yeah, but what was it? Were you a letter writer also, or
Yes.
You were a letter writer?
Yes.
So tell me about that. ¿De dónde salió eso de escribir cartas? ¿De quién? ¿De dónde salió?
De yo creo mi mamá. And he wrote to my mama in Spanish, which I don't even know how to write in Spanish.
Well, how did Freddie learn how to write in Spanish?
Well, Freddie had a Spanish teacher,
Oh.
Mrs. Pienso Guerra's wife. I can't think of her name right now. She was the Spanish teacher of Freddie. He said, let him sleep because he's a football player.
Oh. Yeah.
So the day that I was notified of his death, I looked at the corner where I had already met a lot of people, but there was Judge Bear and Judge Fidencio, and I said, why is he here? Well, his wife was Freddie's teacher.
I see. Now you're talking about 1968. You're going way up to 1968,
Yeah.
and she had been Freddie's
His teacher, he graduated in 1965.
in 65 from Edinburgh High School. He was born in 1946, is when you gave birth to him. What day?
May the 23rd, 1946.
So he would have turned 75 just a
He
couple
did.
months ago.
Yeah,
75.
75.
I called you on that day.
Eh?
I called you on that day. Do you remember? I called you and you said to me that it was a day of celebration. 75.
I remember, can I tell you this before we go any further? When he was in high school, they had a football practice at night, Coach Shaker. But every Wednesday in the morning when I would go to work, he said, Mom, remember the boys are coming tonight. I had about 20 boys, and I would be making supper, and then Tommy Luna just passed away almost a year. So he was very sick, and I went to see him at the hospital. And I asked him, I said, Tommy, did you really go to Bible class? He said, yes, because the next day if we didn't go, Coach Shaker would.
Coach Akers, Fred Akers. He was their football coach.
I have a picture that I should give to you so you could put it with him, with Coach Shaker. He came down about a couple of years back. He already passed away this year. And we had a dinner, and he requested that I take a picture with him. And I was thinking, what am I going to do with that picture? So I need to bring it to you so you can put it for
Yeah, we'd love to see it. And Fred Akers, of course, would become a legendary football coach at the University of Texas and all that. Let me get to some of the letters, okay? Because there's some patterns here in the letters that he wrote to you. And by the way, what you brought to us, or what I went to your house and picked up, was about 150 letters that you had in a cardboard box at your home.
I would see that every time I got a letter and I had that box right there, I would drop them.
In that box.
In the little box.
And so-
Sometimes I would go back and read them, and I had tears in my eyes.
Mm.
So whoever goes through life like I've gone, nobody can tell me they can't do it. I did it. By scrubbing floors, babysitting, I raised my son.
What was the role the letters had in helping you to do it?
He, like when he graduated, he says, Mom, I'm joining the Marine Corps. I said, no. He said, yes. I said, you can go to college and I'll keep on working. No. He says, I'll come back and go to college. Well, he didn't come back. But his spirit still is with me.
So he wrote to you. He said, this is in July of 1967, because he began to write immediately in 1965. In fact, one of his first letters was to your mother, his grandmother, that he started in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tried to apologize. He said, I hope you understand my Spanish. But his Spanish was very clear.
Oh, yeah.
But he says this, he says, boy, I've been writing letters like mad.
He wrote to my sisters, to my mom, and to his friends, his girlfriend. He wrote letters like I don't know what.
So he wrote letters to at least 4 different people, probably 5 or 6 different people. Mm-hmm. If he wrote 150 letters to you, how many letters do you think he wrote to all the other people?
I don't know what happened to my mom's letter.
Well, you have some of them.
I do?
You have some of them. We have them,
Okay.
a few of them. But we just have like maybe, I don't know, like 10 letters to your mother. He must have written many more, because he says, in his letters, he says, I just wrote to grandmother. I just wrote to
Aurora,
to Shorty.
Shorty.
To Tia Aurora, yes.
He would write me and say, Mom, tell my Aunt Aurora that Shorty's okay. Shorty wasn't a letter writer. She's doing fine. They kept in touch.
So if he wrote 150 to you, and you just mentioned at least 4 people, he must have written, when he was in Vietnam, 500 letters is my guess. ¿Quién tiene otras cartas? ¿Quién tendrá?
Pues no sé, las que de mi mamá, yo no tengo muchas que le escribió a ella. Mm-hmm. But I know, but when my sister moves around, they store, like when I got home from the hospital, I've been looking for things, well, they threw everything away. Oh. They don't know what all that stuff meant to me.
There are patterns in Freddie's letters.
Yeah.
There are patterns. Like, one is that he talked about his letter writing. Another is that he was not happy when people weren't writing to him.
I had written him so many letters that he never got. I don't know if they're in that much Asana Marascan. If not, I'll look for them.
Yeah, we don't have letters that you wrote to him that didn't get there.
Yeah, I think I have them somewhere. I have to look for them.
In fact, you know what? I don't think we have letters that you wrote to him at all. Because those letters would have stayed with him.
Yeah.
And who knows what he would have done with those.
Oh.
I mean, he's fighting.
They told me something that when he passed away, he died, he had a lot of stuff. He carried all that stuff in his
backpack.
But they said that this boy from Corpus told me, says, they went in there and took everything he had bought for you. I said,
So he wrote a lot, he talked about it, and he talked about, hey, write to me, he would say. Another pattern. He loved Edinburgh. Like he used to say, like there's a letter here, 67, where he says, don't forget me down there in Edinburgh. There was another one where he drew a little map of Edinburgh, the map of Texas. And then another one where he said, you know, I went to California, you know, for training, but I would never trade my Edinburgh. What was it about his love for this community that, and he wrote about it? What was it?
Because the boys, thank God, when he was coming home, they would be at my house before, he'd get about 2 or 3 hours before, because he got delayed on the flight. Because when I went to Washington to get the Medal of Honor, I asked one of the captains, why are they pulling him off the plane? He says, because he's got a halfway ticket. So if somebody came with a ticket, they would, I said, well, they can have mine. But it doesn't work that way.
When you say the boys, so what I'm understanding from you is that he loved Edinburgh because of the people here. He wrote
the coaches when he came home from, no.
The coaches would go,
yeah.
He would do homemade birthday cards for you.
Yeah.
Homemade, like this one here. Happy birthday to the best mother in the world. What more could a guy ask for? Homemade birthday cards. And this is when you turn 36, maybe 37. Happy birthday, mother. August 23rd, 1966. Hello, mother, and happy birthday and many returns. How have you been, Mom? I'm just fine. Don't think I have forgotten you. You know, when we did I have to tell you the story because we did 2 workshops with teachers from Edinburgh and teachers from Brownsville on the letters. One teacher said, I need copies of these letters to show to my elementary students because Freddie González is a model for how a child should be with their parents.
You know, Mr. Gutierrez is over there in Brownsville now.
The superintendent, yes.
Yes, he was
Yes.
so nice to me. And I need to write him just a little card to keep in touch with him. He said to me, whatever you want from Freddie, let me know. I'll be here with you. And he was. And the medal on the flag is at the administration building.
No, the schools love, Freddie. There's no question about that. There's a letter Freddie wrote to you, dated January 26. I'm thinking it may have been the last one, 1968, because Freddie was killed on February 4th. A short letter to let you know. Hi, Mom. A short letter to let you know that I am just fine. I'm going on R&R the 29th of February to Hong Kong. Me and Sam Reina are going together.
He passed away too.
Yes.
He died in April of the
April.
same year.
Same year.
Same year.
Yes. Yes.
He was from Corpus.
From Corpus
And
Christi.
there's another boy there in Corpus. I haven't seen him in a long time. Maybe I'll see him this time if I get to go to San Antonio. I don't know if the doctor's going to let me go. But I want to go because I have a good time with him.
You should go. You should have a good time. If Dolia González wants to have a good time, you should. One letter before this one. January 24th. Mother, I was shocked to hear that Victor got killed.
Yeah.
But it's things that will happen in war. Mom, please don't worry about me because I'll come out of this just fine. Remember what I told you before I left, that I would come back all right. I hope all the people back home remember Victor because he didn't give his life for nothing. It was in the line of duty. His life was given willingly rather than taken. That's the way I want you to think.
I should have brought that Adam so you could. I'm going to bring it so you can see it. When I went to Washington to see John Conley was the one that tried to stop him from. He said, you go back and get medical help. He says, no, I have to go to get my boys. So.
These are the letters. So this is how we're taking care of them. These are the letters. And I have to tell you that there's so many people interested in these letters, Dolia. So many people interested in these letters. This is what they look like. I just want to show our audience. So Pam, you can get, this is what they look like. And so these were the envelopes that Freddie was putting his letters in. Dolia, this has been such a gift. This has been such a gift. Another teacher said, she's a teacher at Freddie González Elementary. She said, we mostly know about Freddie González as this hero who gave his life for his country. I had no idea about that side of Freddie, his tenderness, the care and the love, the humanity. She said, because of the letters, now I have a more complete picture of Freddie González.
You know who the teacher was?
Esmeralda se llama. She may have taught Freddie González at some point, but then, and another person who said that was the principal. The principal, Naida.
I haven't seen her.
She was on the workshop and she was super excited. What else do you have to say, Dolia, about the letters? Tell the world.
That is part of my life that I have to live on with until the day I die.
Well, on behalf of the world, on behalf of this community and on behalf of the Museum of South Texas History, we just want to thank you in the most heartfelt way because you...
Well, I thank you, and also I thank Shan.
Shan Rankin was very important in a lot of this.
Yeah, and she was very important in my. She was I need to call her. I call her once in a while. I guess she's busy with her husband since he was pretty sick too. He fell down and broke his. I think he's.
Oh my God. Okay.
But now I did it, so I know what it is to go through. I was in the hospital about a month, and I came out fine.
But you're looking good and you sound great.
Lo único que es que no engordo.
No?
Peso 81 pounds.
81 pounds.
But I don't think I'm going to gain no more weight. I'm going to be this way.
Okay.
Y como 2 or 3 times a day,
Yeah.
fruta, everything that I like, I make tortillas. Oh, I went back to learn how to make tortillas. At first I couldn't make them.
But I don't think you ever weighed any more than 100 pounds in your life
No,
anyway.
I was always a very skinny girl.
Yes. Yes. Dolia, thank you so much. And it's always
You're
good
welcome.
to see you. You always have a home here at the museum.
I know.
So
And
I'm
I
going
need to bring that album. I should have
Yes,
brought it
bring,
today.
bring whatever you
Like
have.
John Conley when we went to the White House. No,
Yes.
it was so much fun.
You're such a
And I
good...
think he's going to be there in San Antonio, so
Okay.
if I won't be there.
So, this is Dolia González. She's an absolute treasure. And, you know, Freddy González, I think, was also such a gift to us. When we come back, we will have a plática with Jennifer Torres Olmeda. You're great. Jennifer, how was that with Dolia González, having a conversation with Dolia? What were you thinking as you were sitting over behind the camera?
Just how amazing she is, really. It's the most beautiful thing that she's wanting to share her son's legacy and to, you know, obviously to keep it alive and to keep that love of Edinburgh that he had and really highlight that with the community and share that she's willing to share all of that with us. And so I'm just look at her in awe, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I
She's
mean, you know,
amazing.
what are the descriptors, right? What, you know, to describe somebody like Dolia who's, you know, I mean, she lost Freddie when she was maybe 38. She's 92. And the grace with which she does all of this is impressive.
Absolutely.
So, okay, who are you? So, tell the world about Jennifer. You know, where are you from? You know, that sort of thing. What do you do?
I am a native of Edinburgh, so I am from Edinburgh, Texas. I come from a family of educators. I went to Florida State University for my undergrad and then wandered around for a bit, found my way home, and just recently graduated from the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley with my master's degree. So I'm so happy to be back and to have my family here and to be able to raise my children here. It's really a blessing to be able to do so.
Who's your father?
Jesus Manuel Torres. He is also a teacher, or he was a teacher. He's now retired. He taught in the elementary. So he is a blast. He has a great time with little kids, and I have a sister. It's just myself and my sister, and I'm the mother to 3 boys. So Dad is finally getting his 3 boys, to play with. So he's over the moon about being able to do that.
Where is he from?
He's from San Marcos. Well, actually, he's from Reedville, which is right outside of San Marcos, Texas. So he is from there, and he actually was drafted for Vietnam as well, like Freddie. So he was drafted for Vietnam. He spent time in the service, and then when he came back, he utilized his benefits to be able to go to college. So he went to what was at the time Southwest Texas University, and that's where he met my mom.
Oh, and so who is your mom?
So my mom is also an educator. She taught in the high school level for a long time. Then she moved on to administration. It's Eva Tristan Torres. And she was the first dean of instruction at Edinburgh North High School. She opened up Barrientos Middle School, and then was also the founding principal for Robert Vela High School, and moved on to central administration, where she was the assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction. So she moved from there to the university. She was a professor there for a while, as well as the head of the principalship program. And now she's consulting with the district again, and she's having a blast.
Hey, was it a lot of pressure growing up as a daughter of Eva Torres?
Yes, very much so. My mom's a rock star. So it was my dad, obviously. But it was a little difficult, I guess. Not difficult, but just it felt, like you said, there was a lot of pressure because it was always Miss Torres' daughter, not Jennifer. So a lot of people didn't know my name. They didn't know Jennifer. They knew, oh, she's Miss Torres' daughter. Yeah, that's that girl. So it was fun, though. I'm honored to be her daughter.
Well, she is so cool that she probably would have been intentional about mitigating a lot of those pressures of a kid growing up, and of your sister as well. Where did you go to high school?
Edinburgh North High School.
Okay. So it just so happens that you, as a teacher at Edinburgh North now, somehow came into this program. So when I was at the university, one of my colleagues and I wrote a grant that we call Historias Americanas. And so we submitted the grant to the U.S. Department of Education to engage in the professional development of social studies teachers in the Edinburgh School District and the Brownsville School District. And so we promised that if we got the grant, we would do this with about 35 teachers from Edinburgh, 35 teachers from Brownsville, and to do this professional development around two frameworks. One was place-based education, and the other is culturally relevant ways of teaching and learning. And Jennifer becomes part of the group of teachers. And so I'd like to ask you to reflect on the work that you've been involved in through Historias Americanas, because, when I was at the university, I wrote the thing with Maritza de la Trinidad, but then I came to the museum, and I wanted to bring the grant to the museum, and the museum is now an essential partner in this. Speak to the experience that you've had. What have you learned? How have you grown, or not, or whatever?
Well, the program has honestly been just transformational. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I speak in my classes about how we have such a beautiful little microcosm of culture that is unique to this area, that is so rich and vibrant, and that offers us so much cultural capital. We have so much strength in our culture, and there seems to be a strong feeling from a lot of students, a lot of people, well, it's the valley. Well, yes, but it's the valley. That's the way you need to look at it. Not it's the valley. It's the valley. There's so much here. There's so much history, and there's so much beauty here. And honestly, I have to admit, as a student, I was one of those students that was, well, it's the valley. And upon coming into the program, I just discovered the wealth that we hold here in terms of the locations and the history that's here. And I already had a lot of pride for my culture, but it just feels as if it's exponentially grown through the program. And I love the fact that I've been able to share that with my students, because it's lent a lot more relatability to the complex content that I work with my students. So being able to take them into a place where they're looking at AP level information and tie that to the Hidalgo Pump House, tie that to, okay, look, this is a vocabulary word that has a Latin base. Well, guess what? You're bilingual. You know Spanish, which is a Romance language, which has Latin built into it. So what do you think this word sounds like? And having the kids figure out things like that, having them realize that living in this beautiful place that we're blessed to have, living here is nothing but a strength, and a strength that they can pull from and that they can utilize to really relate to this higher level material. It's amazing. I love it.
So you seem to bring a blend, just observing now, of a pretty good handle on content and enthusiasm. Right, this is just you.
I am known at Edinburgh. I'm known at Edinburgh North as the very loud teacher. So every morning, without fail, every single class period, I stand outside, welcome the kids into the classroom, and as soon as I start class, I close the door. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And they're, what? It's first period. What's wrong with you, lady? But that's who I am. And even the teachers around me laugh because they're like, okay, we're not gonna do that. You can hear her because that's just who I am.
And yet, I made an observation at the last workshop we had, which is just in the last couple of weeks when we finished the third year. I said, Jennifer, would you, this was on Zoom, so there was 65 people on there, and I said, Jennifer, we don't hear from you much, but when we do, like, you say a lot. So what is that about? That in the professional development work, you tended to be kind of, behind the scenes type of person. What was that about?
I have to admit, I am exuberant in my content and such, but when it comes to a setting like professional development, to be quite honest, I do feel a little bit intimidated. I do get nervous, and I love the content, I love the information, but I'm a student again. And I know that as a student, I loved content, I loved learning things, but I would be a little shy, I would be a little quiet about things. There were always nerves, but the types of things that we do in Historias Americanas really, I feel, give life and give a voice to those students that perhaps may be in the same position that I feel I am when I'm a student. You may not necessarily feel comfortable speaking out too much or wanting to say your ideas for fear of not judgment, but maybe for fear of being wrong. And then when you have a project, like for instance, we did our digital stories. In doing projects like that are a little bit more artistic and that allow you to have your voice and to express yourself in a different way, as opposed to everybody's watching you and everybody's listening to you at the exact same time.
What did you do your digital story on?
I chose to pay tribute to the very strong women that I have in my family and their legacy.
Wow. So in readying for that, part of the professional development was about having teachers understand their own story. Because the theory is that if you have the skill set of understanding your story, you can probably teach that skill set to students so that they can explore their own story. So as you readied for that, what was that like? Did you feel like, oh my God, this is really high stakes? Or did you feel like, oh, this is a piece of cake? What did you go through in readying to tell the story?
So initially, the assignment was, I believe, if I remember correctly, they spoke about integrating the place-based as well as the cultural significance of our stories. And it's difficult for me because both of my parents are not from the Valley. My mom is from Sabinal, Texas, a tiny little town outside of San Antonio, and my dad is from Reedville, outside of San Marcos. So growing up, it was always referred to as that was home. And so we would go there on weekends, we would go there every summer. And so it was difficult for me to really align the place-based. And I thought, you know what? It doesn't matter where I'm from. The where is not as important in terms of the physical location. Where I'm from stems from the people that have brought me forth to be who I have become today. That's where I'm from. really. When you really look at it, that's where I'm from. And it can't be placed on a map. And so, and then again, the place that we live in, the Valley, has had a huge impact on who I have become, on the type of people that my mother and my father have become as well. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to take it from that perspective. And we were talking about culture, and I just started thinking about all of the different really strong women that we have in our family on both sides.
So how about if we cue it up and show it so that people can know what we're talking about?
Okay.
Okay, so let's see if Pam can cue it up. So the title of the digital story.
She gave me wings.
She gave me wings. Okay, and so
Oh,
the
they
she-
gave me wings.
They gave me wings.
Yes.
Okay, all right, let's enjoy this.
It must have been cold there in my shadow. These hands have held Grandma's yellow newspaper clippings, carefully snipped and saved in her canasta. These hands have lifted crying children and hoisted boulders upon high. These hands have cradled wrinkled newborns, gently caressing their papery pink skin, so vulnerable and pure. They have reached down into the earth of California, yet buried roots deep in Texas, fingernails still caked with California sand. They have worked side by side with Mama in classrooms and kitchens, boardrooms and nurseries. These are the hands that hold determination and faith. These hands taught me to be bold, yet cautious, steadfast, but yielding. These hands hold hers, veins and tendons pushing up against caramel-colored skin, long, thin fingers curling around mine own. These hands hold her story, their stories, of a brave woman smuggling daughters across borders hidden beneath hay, of a persistent woman teaching herself to read in 2 languages despite only attending 1 day of school, of a driven woman blazing her way to a doctorate in honor of her papi's fight for her education, of an empowered woman blessed with opportunities and wings that enable her to fly. These hands are coffee with a hint of cream, graceful and blundering, elegant and worn. These hands are mine. You are the wind beneath my wings. Thank you, thank you, thank God for you, the wind beneath my wings. It must have been cold there in my was really impactful this past year. This past year, as we all know, was a very difficult year for everybody. But teaching, we were teaching to a lot of dots on a screen in a lot of instances. And one of the biggest difficulties was engagement of the students because it was difficult to see if they were even there. And one of the things that I thought of is I said, you know what, I'm going to show them my video. I'm going to see if they're watching. Hopefully they like it. If they're not, well, that'll be that. And it was amazing because I shared the digital story with them, and it was magic. It was magic. All of a sudden, one of my students turned on her camera. I'd never seen the little girl before. She turned on her camera and she just looked at me and she, Mrs., is that really about you? And I said, yes. And all of a sudden, in place of little dots, faces just started appearing, and instead of just little comments in the chat box, people were turning on their microphones and speaking and asking questions and saying, well, Miss, why did you come back to the Valley? And, you know, your mom did this. Wow, that's really cool. Well, you know what my parents did, and my parents did this. And so that led us into conversations about population, conversations about migration, about change over time and industrialization and the effects of population in an area. And so it was beautiful because in getting to know myself and being able to have this method and this way of revealing myself to my students through a historical lens, it was amazing because then I was able to capture them and I was able to bring life to something that quite honestly was a digital void at the moment. And it suddenly became just engagement. And I think that that's what something like a digital story can do, is it brings forth a little bit more of the teacher, but it also shows the historical aspect. And then it also awakens the students with ideas of, oh, this is how this connects to this. And this is how we can, oh, Miss, do you remember in your story you talked about this? That's kind of like when we talk about chain migration. That's kind of like when we talk about how populations change, how their birth rate changes over time. And it's like, yes, yes. So it was very exciting. It was awesome.
It revealed and it unlocked, it seemed, so much. How long have you been teaching?
I have taught for 10 years.
10 years.
This will be my 11th.
What kind of personal revelation had you done previous to this story with your students, say in the previous 10 years?
So we would talk about the past. I would try and play games with them. I would try and make connections to things that were more commonly known by them. So a little bit more popular culture, things like that. But in doing Historias Americanas and in gaining a larger appreciation for the culture, for the area, it was amazing because I feel as if that part really made a big impact in terms of getting the kids to relate even further. So now you're not relating just because I talked to you about, oh, think about a silly story that you saw on the news, or think about something that you saw with your favorite celebrity. Now it's, let's think about the place that you grew up. Now let's think about the place that you've known all your life. Let's talk about those things. Let's talk about the issues that are happening here and now that you're living through.
So what I'm hearing from you is a much greater sense of meaning and relevance and pertinence and connection. And so it's part of the development of the self and of the teacher. And so it sounds like you've gotten something out of it.
Absolutely.
That's terrific. So I think from our end, Jennifer, what we're attempting to do and the role of the museum is that we want the museum to be much more consequential in the development of the community, of its identity, of its sense of self historically. But we want to be consequential as well in the development of teachers, because really, teachers are the most important people in the community. And so to the extent that teachers can be much more embedded in the life of the museum, we think that teachers can be embedded in their own lives as historical beings. So that's kind of like the purpose here. And it sounds like with you that we've got a really good success story. So Jennifer, thank you so much for being here today. I don't know if you have any last words before we sign off that you may want to impart.
Just thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity not only to speak to the wonderful nature of this program, but also to be able to experience the Valley in a way that I had never done before. I I'm so proud of our valley, and I'm so proud of our people. And I feel as if this is just one of many more steps that we can take in the future to bring the university, the museum, into our students and into our teachers' lives and into the community.
So as I sign off and I talk to our audience, when Freddie was writing, I hope they don't forget me in Edinburgh, when Freddie was saying, you know, how's good old Edinburgh, Mom? It sounds like in different generations, you know, Freddie had this sense of place, just like Jennifer has this sense of place. She's always had it. I think Freddie always had it. I think that our purpose here is how we can cultivate that in more and more and more people. So on behalf of the Museum of South Texas History, I want to thank you, Jennifer. I want to thank Dolia González. Two incredible women that we had today. Oh my God. So it was it was such a treat for me, just to be in a Plática with you and with Dolia González. And so we thank you for being part of it as well. And we will see you next month for our next Museum Plática.